is Giovanni Scumaci, who is a senior at Curie Metropolitan High School. He's on the wrestling team, and he's in the National Honor Society. And let me remind you, he is a second semester senior. On LinkedIn, Giovanni's profile simply says, hungry for opportunity, and I'm totally going to steal that. That's what more is there to say? That's perfect. He's currently a Chicago Scholar and a Chicago Scholar Ambassador, so he works to promote the program to high schools and colleges. And Giovanni has applied to college for admission next fall, and now is in that very fun waiting period. Chicago Scholars' mission is to support Chicago's future leaders by helping students to apply, get in, graduate, and launch their careers. And here is one of them now, college-bound and very ready for it. Giovanni?
Thank you, Susie. My voice is completely gone. As she mentioned, I'm a wrestler. I just got back from a tournament, but you know, the show must go on. There's no stopping me. Is it better?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie, and good evening, everyone. As previously mentioned, I am a senior currently attending Curie High School, but I would like to take you all back to my sophomore year. Just released from a pandemic lockdown, a young Giovanni was being exposed to so many different places, people, things, all types of proper nouns. And in all honesty, the year was going great. New friends, and it kind of felt like a new life. But that wasn't until I made one of the worst decisions of my life. See, I don't believe in regret, but as the door shattered under the force of my kick, and I seen all that glass falling down, I definitely started to question my beliefs, to say the least. I jumped up the stairs, and I stumbled over the pile of glass as it crunched right under my feet. I turned sharply around the corner, and I hurled my body towards the vacant lunchroom as tears poured down my cheek. Huddled in the corner, I clenched my fist and sobbed into my sleeve. I felt like such a little boy. The little boy I used to be. Bruised fingers and bloody knuckles, drywall lingering on my clothes, as my wall was riddled with holes I was responsible for. Despite the boy's anger and the frustration and his responsibility, his teeth still grinded in frustration as pillows and covers smothered his face as he gasped for every breath. I thought I had navigated my way around these childish acts which plagued my childhood, but what remained at the shattered door begged to differ. I peered up from my sleeve as radio static filled the room, and I seen the dean pace towards me, and I knew that I was absolutely doomed. And by the time I reached my office, my mother was already there seated with tears streaming down her face. I couldn't even muster the courage to look at her. And as we approached the car, I couldn't even get in the passenger seat. And now here I am, sitting in the back seat, a victim to shame's chokehold. I felt so selfish. I couldn't believe the pain I put my mother through due to my immaturity. I've always been reminded time and time again that you are a reflection of your parents, and this is not who my mother was, nor is this how she raised me. She showered me with unconditional love and support all my actions. This didn't reflect her in any way, shape, or form. I knew I needed to make a life-altering change because I see myself traveling in a direction that leads to a cycle that I've been surrounded by time and time again. That night, I wrote her a letter apologizing for all of the destruction, past and present. I expressed how grateful I was to have her by my side and that I would never let her down again. It was time to show the world the bright young man that she was responsible for raising. Days later, after a paid vacation from school, extended leave, I found myself taking deep breaths as the building towered over me. The bitter morning breeze pierced my jacket and poked at my lungs while I marched to school with my head held high. I was determined to right my wrongs, and after standing in, I headed straight for the dean's office. I owed them all a formal apology and expressed my plans to redeem myself. And from then on, I began to salvage my sophomore year. I worked overtime to raise my grades, and by the end of the year, I was exceeding in every single one of my classes. I felt so back to my so much so that I craved a curriculum that would push me further than my regular classes were. I knew I was capable of much, much more, and even though I was nervous, As junior schedule programming came around, I found myself marching into my counselor's office, determined to face the challenge head on once again. And thanks to the recommendations from my teachers, I was accepted into every advanced placement class I applied to. And as the months passed, I found myself thriving, an academic weapon, if you so. I adopted the mantra, how you do one thing is how you do everything, and I live by it. I refuse to perform anything less than my highest capability, and I refuse to give anything less than my all. And now, I find myself in front of this wonderful crowd telling the story of the man I became. And but this change of character did not happen overnight. It was a long, long road. And it was very far from easy. But through adversity, I truly feel that I was saved. I am no longer that little boy I once was, but he will always have a special place in my heart. I imagine him sleeping peacefully through the night, tears far, far away from his eyes, and a pillow under his head rather than his face. And I like to think he's proud of how far we came together. And now, as I find myself a senior in high school working on college essays and whatnot, everyone wants the spotlight on me. Case in point. How I overcame hardships and how I persevered through struggles and how I toppled these generational curses. And as triumphant as that sounds on paper, truth be told, that is not the case. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for my mother. And I wouldn't be the man I am today in front of you all without my amazing father. And I wouldn't be up here representing Chicago Scholars if it weren't for the individual input from each and everyone who had put their faith in me before I had found mine, and who believed in me before I believed in myself.
That's right, yo.
And as much as the universities must be dying to hear me, I am far from a liar, and I was not raised that way, and I refuse to afflict my mother like that ever again. Everything I do is for them. Everything. I promise. And so these days, as I walk through that door, that fateful door, that door that changed it all, I see that I have been reconstructed anew. I sit and admire its beauty. The stainless steel finish glimmers, and its glass interior shines my reflection right back at me. I take myself to the bottom of the steps, gazing in its direction, and with each and every stare, I reflect upon how different life was just a couple years ago. The higher I climb, the more my reflection slips and fades away until I reach the top flight. At this point, the door is completely out of sight, and I exit the stairwell, holding my head held high, grateful for my journey, and determined to continue making my family proud, for the door too has been reconstructed anew. Thank you.
Wow.
I don't know if there's there might be a few dry eyes in those, but if you're a mom, your eyes are not dry. That was absolutely beautiful. And what's so cool is this is the story Giovanni wrote for his college, for his personal statement, for the Common App.
Yeah.
But he had the opportunity to recraft it tonight in the way he wanted to tell it, which is exactly how he wanted to honor his mom. And that essay had, you're right, the essay had a spotlight view, but tonight he got to tell the story the way he wanted to, and with such deep gratitude. It's so beautiful. And his mom's here, so. So in a few short months, well, that was destiny. I can't wait to find out which campus is lucky enough to welcome you next.